Modern day Isekai sucks. I'm not talking about bad animation or generic power systems. I'm talking about something fundamental, something you can spot in the first episode that'll tell you whether an Isekai is worth your time or complete garbage. Stick around because by the end of this video you'll never waste another Saturday on trash Isekai again. This is Honest 10. 10 facts, 0 fluff. Let's get into it. Look, I know anime fans who refuse to touch Isekai, won't even give it a chance. One whiff, they're out. And honestly, I get it. I've watched most Isekai, and most Isekai are terrible. They're worse at a significantly higher rate than basically any other anime genre. And I say this as someone who's also subjected himself to harem slop. Here's the brutal reality. A sizable chunk of the Isekai audience will consume literally anything. Any trash, any slop. As long as it stars some nerd from Earth with a microscopic chance of pulling an elf girl eventually, maybe in 30 seasons if they're lucky. And I mean any slop. The lowest rated Isekai in any given season will pull higher viewership than the best original anime of the year. Remember Failure Frame from my worst of 2024 list? An Isekai where every fight is just paralyzed and poison until you want to lobotomize yourself with a spork? 4.4 out of 5 on Crunchyroll, 85,000 ratings. Meanwhile, Dandadan, the best anime of 2024, has barely 4,000. That's 1,000 less than something literally called Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy. Comment below if you're part of the problem, because clearly some of you will watch anything. And the industry? They're happy to give it to you, but here's the thing, that's not the real problem with Isekai, at least not one we can fix. I can't stop you from watching bad anime, but I can help you watch better ones. There's one crucial factor that every good Isekai gets right, and almost every bad one gets catastrophically wrong, something writers should obsess over if they want their show to be even halfway decent, something viewers should watch for if they don't want to waste their time. It's so important you can use it to judge if an Isekai is worth watching in just one episode, and I'm going to tell you exactly what that is. Now, there are plenty of things wrong with Isekai. Flat power curves, too many villains who turn out to be babies, yes really, tacit endorsements of slavery that make you question humanity, but none of these are the problem. Power systems? That's a big issue, sure. Plenty of Isekai completely botch the power curve and still manage to be watchable, and a few basically ignore it entirely and turn out phenomenal. Plus, figuring out if a power system is interesting takes several episodes, sometimes entire seasons. I promised you a test that works in one episode or less. Here's the thing, the root of the problem lies at the very core of the Isekai concept itself. An Isekai is a story about a person from one world, usually this one, being transported to a new world. Basically, every Isekai author has that second part covered. Cool fantasy worlds with magic systems and adventure. I'm sure their moms think their worlds are very cool. It's the first part that trips them up, because Isekai isn't just fantasy. If it were, there wouldn't be an Isekai category. Isekai are stories about people from worlds, the clash of perspectives, the collision of worldviews. What happens when you suddenly immerse someone in a totally foreign place, time, and jurisdiction of physics? But here's where it goes wrong. Far too many writers see the person from Earth part as nothing more than a cheat code for creating relatability, a lazy shortcut. You want a fantasy hero who's just like me for real without explaining how that kind of guy could exist in medieval Europe? Easy. Pluck some nerd off the Tokyo pavement, drop him in a fantasy town with some waifus and watch him go. And yeah, making your story an Isekai has structural advantages. You don't have to figure out how your protagonist gets to where the story starts. Truck, boom, done. He doesn't know about the world either, so perfect excuse for exposition dumps. It's an undeniably versatile tool for kickstarting a quick and dirty escapist fantasy, but it's so much more than that. The portal fantasy trope is half the premise of this entire genre. What makes Isekai interesting? What sets it apart from regular fantasy? The inherent conflict, the clash of perspectives, ideals, worldviews that comes with suddenly immersing a person in a totally foreign reality. How does that change someone? How would the world change in response to them? How does the new world compare to the old one? These are deep wells of thematic potential, opportunities for profound commentary on the world we live in and the people who live in it. And most Isekai writers, they completely ignore it. Well, okay, not completely. The new world is better because it's more like a video game, unless it's a hard video game with lots of blood and guts, in which case it's better with an asterisk. The world changes the protagonist from an incel into a guy who's gotten his sword polished by an elf, and he changes it by setting a new record for how many elves can service one dude's blade. That's what makes most isekai fundamentally worthless after you've watched your first 20. It's the exact same flavor of escapism over and over until all you can taste is slop. Don't get me wrong, there's obvious value in raw escapist fantasy. Late stage capitalism Earth has plenty worth escaping from, but past a certain point of diminishing returns, you'd have to be a real weirdo who delights in watching other weirdos loudly self-report through fiction to get anything out of more slop isekai. And most people aren't me, so there's an elegant test to identify and avoid the slop. After watching 1 or 2 episodes of a new isekai, ask yourself, what was the hero's original world like, and how did they fit into it? If the show gave you answers, or at least enough clues to speculate, you're probably watching something with something to say. At least something more than, what if you lived in a video game? That doesn't guarantee what it has to say will be good or interesting. Failure Frame uses backstory just to say, what if you lived in a gacha game and also were a school shooter? But at the very least, you know the hero being from another world is going to matter to the story on some level. Yes, that's how low the bar is, but the sky is the limit for shows that actually clear it. Re:Zero is one of the best examples of a character fundamentally changed by his journey to another world. When Natsuki Subaru arrives in Lugunica, he's a hot mess, and while we only get the briefest glimpse of his life on Earth before he's torn away, it tells us everything about him. He's the kind of guy who reads Jump in the convenience store without buying it, the kind who knows he should get the healthy cup noodles but grabs tonkatsu ramen instead, plus chips because screw it, but also the kind with the presence of mind to catch a rare coin in his change and hold on to it. His eyes tell us everything. First, the way they follow that couple walking by in their school uniforms, then they dart back to his sad, single tracksuit encrusted shut-in self, expressing a lifetime of self-hatred with one glance and a sigh. Then there's the way those eyes light up when he realizes he's been isekai'd. He wants this, he needs it. There's clearly something he hates about life back on Earth, and we don't know what that is yet. Subaru desperately doesn't want to think about it, so it'll be many episodes before we finally unpack why he's like this, but it's enough to know the writer has an answer to that question. Wait a second though. Didn't I just complain that most writers use isekai to insert an Earth nerd into elf acquisition range? Isn't Re:Zero a prototypical example? Sure, a lot of Subaru's early characterization is the same self-aware, genre-savvy, reference-spouting anti-swagger we've seen from a billion other protagonists. But here's the key difference. Subaru is savvy to the wrong genre. He's stuck in a much darker horror fantasy where his nerd quips are painfully out of place, and so frequently are his organs and limbs. But more important than just doing something different with its otaku protagonist, Re:Zero actually bothers to define who he is with more than that one word. To explore what life was like for him back on Earth when he wasn't watching anime. There's depth there, space for an actual character arc. Slop isekai heroes have character development. Your average protagonist will probably get a little more confident as his stats go up, maybe learn to be slightly more responsible or less lazy, but they never have character arcs. Why? Because it's impossible to draw an arc if all you know is where it ends. You need a fixed starting point with a clearly defined trajectory. And by treating the Portal fantasy as nothing but a cheat code to spawn a backstoryless audience insert for their generic gamelit thing that frankly didn't need to be an isekai in the first place, all these anime, manga, and light novels sacrifice their ability to create that point. Now sure, there are other areas where these isekai can still excel. They can have solid plots, immersive settings, quality waifus, but they immediately set themselves way back in the waifu department by making the main guy those waifus interact with a pair of pants, which also affects the non-waifu characters, if the anime even bothers to have those. And it doesn't matter how complex your world's political situation gets, how deep the magic system is, or how rich the lore is if the people living in it don't feel real. That's a massive uphill battle even for really good writers. And let's be honest, there aren't many of those working in this space. It's not impossible though. This season's Secrets of the Silent Witch is a prime example of how much a fantasy story about an overpowered silent casting mage stands to gain by just having the courage to not be an isekai. It makes a great point of contrast because, like many isekai, it has an interesting, politically complex, lore-rich world and a huge cast of entertaining characters, so we can see just how much making the protagonist an actual character adds. Monica Everett's OP incantation-free magic isn't just an isekai cheat power. It's rooted in her love of math. all that she has left from her dead father, and the crippling anxiety that makes her incapable of saying spells out loud, which itself is the result of being taken in by an abusive uncle at a young age. She also has an entire academic career behind her, peers who respect her, co-workers who give her a hard time, a full life lived prior to the start of the story, which we slowly uncover through flashbacks and emotional beats that would just be boring downtime in something like The Water Magician. But the effect isn't just additive, it's multiplicative. That extra side of the story interacts with all the other sides. Monica's past adds context and weight to her present development. Moments like making her first friend, discovering a passion outside of magic, and speaking up for herself hit harder because we understand how impossibly difficult those things are for her. It lets her relate to other characters on more than a surface level. It makes everything about the entire show better, and it does it without sacrificing the wish fulfillment of going to a fancy fantasy academy, having hot rich guys fall for her, and kicking ass with crazy OP spells. It's escapist fantasy through and through, but not mindless. It's introspective, insightful, rich in character, a story with valuable things to say about anxiety, what it's like to live with it, and how we can overcome it. It doesn't just whisk you away from your miserable reality for 20 minutes a week. It gives you something to think about when you get back. Ways to understand and address the problems that make its heroine relatable in the first place. That's mindful escapism. That sort of mindful escapism also characterizes a non-anime isekai, Dungeon Crawler Carl. Best described as Sword Art Online meets The Running Man meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Survivors of an alien apocalypse must clear 18 increasingly deadly levels of a world-spanning dungeon on the universe's hottest reality TV show to win Earth back. Meth-head goblins, pyramid-scheming hive minds, genuinely terrifying clowns, and a psychotic AI with a foot fetish acting as dungeon master. That'll be easier said than done, even with magic powers, but lucky for Carl, he has survival skills from the Coast Guard, beautifully supple feet, and his ex-girlfriend's prize-winning Persian showcat, Princess Donut, who can now talk and shoot magic missiles from her eyes. Plus, she's way more media savvy than Carl, which really helps when stream stats matter as much as character stats. If this sounds silly, that's because it absolutely is. Dungeon Crawler Carl is easily the most fun I've ever had in a story with this many stat screens, but that never stops it from getting deadly serious when it needs to, from treating everyone we meet, fellow crawlers, alien talk show hosts, resistance members, as complex individuals with history, baggage, deeply personal motivations, and nuanced opinions on Gossip Girl. Despite conceptual similarities to SAO, this is no massively single-player lit RPG. Carl and Donut are the best characters, but Carl's past is something the series really takes its time unpacking. He doesn't fully confront it until 6 books in, but its weight can be felt through every word and action, especially when he doesn't want to talk about it. This allows Carl to present the more relatably nerdy, surface-level aspects of his personality up front and suck that escapist fiction audience in before they realize just how little he's actually like them. It also allows the book to jump right into the action and start having fun, then slowly layer on profound themes of found family, how trauma transforms us, how oppressive systems use trauma to beat us into compliance and turn us against each other, and what you can do about it if you're ever in the same room as the people responsible. It gets so much darker than you'd expect from a story where page 2 involves an old lady being decapitated, yet at the heart of all that darkness burns a small, resilient flame of hope that shines all the brighter for it. And more than rich lore, strong characters, and wonderful humor, that is what really makes Dungeon Crawler Carl worth reading. The audiobook is peak, by the way. It's also, I think, the biggest thing modern isekai is missing. The real root of the problem. I don't know if you've noticed, but they don't really make isekai about people trying to get home anymore. The most recent ones I can think of are Ari, Ferretta, Sunny Boy, and Dad's Been Reincarnated. Like 3 out of the last 200. It used to be the entire genre. Escaflowne, Ray Earth, Spirited Away, Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, Digimon. No matter how otaku-centric the anime was, no matter how fun the other world seemed, going back was always at least a question. Sometimes the hero would be tempted to stay. Sometimes they'd give in to that temptation or find out there was no way back, but there were always people back home they'd miss, goals they'd leave unfulfilled, things they'd be giving up, consequences for the choice. Nowadays, there's this persistent feeling across the entire genre that nothing on Earth is worth going back to. Sure, some of that comes from the increased use of reincarnation. Mine from Ascendance of a Bookworm already died, so it'd be weird if she went back. And her story is still full of hope, about making the most of what you have instead of pining for what you've lost, but that's the exception that proves the rule. Most modern isekai, reincarnation types included, exist solely to comfort their audience over how much life generally sucks, while offering no solution beyond, wouldn't it be neat to go somewhere that doesn't suck? Sure, the bullies at school are relentlessly cruel, and your boss values you slightly less than his paper shredder. But hey, look on the bright side, you might get hit by a truck today. It's bleak if you think about it for even a second, but of course not thinking about it is the whole point. These shows are designed to make you comfortably numb, so the situation you can't escape from is at least a little easier to accept. And clearly there's a huge market for that, but in capitalizing on it, isekai creators sell themselves, their audience, and their art short. Isekai can be about deep personal journeys. Worlds shaken to their core by tenacious heroes with bold new ideas, universal human truths that transcend time and space. Instead, we're drowning in so much generic slop it doesn't even register anymore. Comment below, what's the last isekai that actually made you feel something, not just entertained you for 20 minutes, but gave you something real to think about? Because if we keep accepting slop, that's all we're ever gonna get. If this video just saved you from wasting another weekend on trash isekai, smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe and ring the bell because I've got more videos coming that'll help you separate the gold from the garbage. And here's the thing, if this video hits 10k likes, I'll make a follow-up revealing my top 10 isekai that actually respect your intelligence. The ones that prove this genre can be so much more than power fantasies and elf waifus. Drop a comment with your isekai hot takes, let's argue about it. Peace.